My name is瑞夫史波, and I play Teddy in the major motion picture Long Story Short. In Josh Lawson's brilliant script, the thing that drew me to the project, the character is described as a chronic procrastinator, which I think is just about right. He is an Englishman in Australia who, which is beside the point, who is a good guy. But one thing that he's not good at is time management. He's terrible at that. Somehow he manages to, though, in amongst that inadequacy, manages to meet the woman of his dreams, who's everything he's ever hoped for, that he meets in a very cute way. They get married, and then things start to go rapidly downhill after that. But he's a good guy, he's extremely handsome, and very bad at time management. Leanne, as played by the wonderful Zara Newman, is intelligent, forgiving, wise, warm, sophisticated, and very beautiful. Everything that you could ever hope for in a partner. And I think that Josh has done a really good job in writing a rounded character in the form of Leanne. She doesn't just service Teddy, do you know what I mean? She doesn't just, she's not your sort of, because, you know, Teddy's very much, I'm in every single scene of this film, and it's the journey that you're on with this character that the audience will enjoy. And her character isn't just a vassal for mine. Her character could hold up a film on its own. You know, she's as I say, in the very capable hands of Zara Newman, whose work I wasn't aware of before coming to this project, and she's really, really, really talented. I don't dish that compliment out very often, but she's definitely one to watch. You know, she's one of your guys', as in the Australians' finest actors, I think. She's really, really clever. Long Story Short is about a man who is terrible with time, but has a good heart, wants to be good, wants to have a nice life, but his own incapability when it comes to time management is holding him back. He manages to meet the woman of his dreams. They get married. Just before the wedding, he meets a strange woman who he has a conversation with by his father's grave, who says to him that she's going to give him something. On the wedding night, when they get back to their house, they open their presents and they find a tin can with no card. All it says is, open in 10 years. They think nothing of it. They think it's a gag gift. They have this wonderful night of romance on their wedding night. Teddy wakes up the next morning. Leanne's not in the bed next to him. And he notices that their flat that they'd just moved into, which was previously unpacked and in boxes the night before, is now suddenly looking very lived in and very unpacked. Leanne's nowhere to be seen. I call her. She comes out. She has a pregnant belly. This is impossible, thinks Teddy. And then a series of events unfolds, which basically becomes clear to him and the audience that his life is going past very rapidly. So through the course of an hour-and-a-half movie, Teddy's life goes past 10 years. So 1 minute there's a baby, 1 minute she's pregnant, 3 minutes later he hears a baby crying, then he learns that his marriage is in difficulty, then he realizes he's got a 2-year-old, then he realizes his wife has left him. So it's a sort of allegory, really. It's an interesting look at the notion of time. What would you do if you had the wonderful gift, albeit terrifying, of being able to see time in a condensed way? Because I think one of the things that led Josh to writing it was wondering, you know, playing with the idea of perspective. The perspective of time is really interesting. When you're caught up in the quotidian, the everyday of your life, it's very easy to become bogged down to make bad decisions because you're sort of going moment to moment. But if you have perspective on that, if you're able to see what not doing this does, or doing that, or failing to fix up in certain areas, if you're able to see what that looked like explicitly, how would you react? How would you change things? So Teddy has this gift of being able to see what will happen if he doesn't fix up his life. I was shooting a TV show in the UK, and it was on the weekend, and I got an email from my agent saying this like Australian movie's come through. And I said, okay, fair enough. I looked at the people involved, and then I just read it. What you do as an actor is you get something in, you want to know if it's legit, you want to know if it's fully financed, ready to go, if it's worth you paying attention to. Then you go, I'm just going to look at the first couple of pages, because I've been around for so long now. I can now tell if something's any good in the first page and a half, right? So I did that, and I simply couldn't put it down. I was, you know, I guess the only word is dazzled by it. Dazzled by the dexterity, tautness, and freshness and laugh out loud comedy in the script. So I was like, this is serious. This is really good. And then I started looking into Josh. I asked for some of his work, and I watched The Little Death, which I was very impressed by. And even more than that, my wife was very impressed by. Now, my wife is pretty much unimpressible. So that was a big tick. Then I watched the 11 O'Clock, his short film, which I thought was terrific. And it was a leap of faith. You know, you go across the world and you're like, I'm going to go and do this Australian indie movie, and I'm going to use it as a nice opportunity to spend some time with my family. I'd just been away from my family for a long time, and we'd always wanted to come to Australia together. So they all came out with me, stayed in the beautiful Bronte Beach, and I spoke with Josh on the phone, who I thought was terrific. You know, and I'd just done a job for the good people at Apple TV, which was mercifully lucrative enough to allow me to come and do a project like this. So the stars aligned, and I was like, why not? I'll come and do it. And I'm really, really pleased I have, because it's grueling. You know, I've been lucky enough to play lots of lead parts in the past, but this is definitely, in many ways, the biggest undertaking of my screen career, because it's I have literally every other word. Now, on a normal set, if you did, it would be a big deal to have a 5-page scene. That would probably be your biggest scene in the whole movie. Now, we do 2 of those a day, right? So we're sometimes rattling through 12, 13 pages in a day, which is really going some. And that's not just a line learning exercise. That calls upon all of the dexterity and quickness of thought that you possess as an actor, which is something I really love to do. Like, my favorite thing is doing big set piece comedic scenes which require quickness of thought, invention. I find that very cathartic, but it does take a lot out of you. But I've really, really loved it, you know. But that's my thing now. I've got no control over the finished quality of a piece. Beyond that, I've got even less control over audiences' responses to that, right? So now, I choose things that I will get something out of, whether that is getting better as an actor, meeting new people, working with great people. That's what I care about. And every single one of those boxes here has been ticked. I feel like I've got better at acting through doing this. I feel like I've been able to flex muscles. I feel like I've made friendships. I've been working with amazing artists, and I've got to see this to work in this beautiful country. What I did do, and what I always do, I just read the script as many times as I possibly could. You read it and read it and read it and read it, which is sort of painful, because reading scripts at the best of times is boring, even if they're good. It's just, you know what it's like. You're on page 30 of a script and you feel like you've been reading for 2.5 hours. It's a thing, but it's necessary. So I read it again and again and again and again. I reckon I probably read it about 50 times. To get an idea of the arc of it. And the line learning in this is a big exercise. So I started to start laying in the biggest scenes. So they were sort of in my mind. And beyond that, not much else, because what I like to do is I like to really know the scene, know the script, but leave enough space for creativity and invention. Because you need to be open. You can't come, in my experience, with too much of a set idea of what you're going to do. You've got to feel it. Now, I'm not just an instinct-based actor, because I do a lot of work as well. I do a lot of preparation and put a lot of thought into it, but you need to leave room for collaboration, inspiration, because really, what's interesting when you watch a film isn't one actor or another, it is the thing that is created between them. So that's why I've been so lucky to be working with Zara, because she's a real thoroughbred racehorse of an actor. So together we keep this balloon in the air. One person's doing that, the other person, that doesn't really matter. You have to leave yourself open, and that sort of atmosphere has to be engendered and encouraged by the director. Now Josh is an actor, so he knows what it's like. And I'm very thankful for the environment that he's created, because it's a truly encouraging, warm atmosphere in order to, really investigate what this is. So I love that. I spoke to Josh on the phone when I was considering doing this film, and we immediately got on. We just hit it off. We have a similar sense of humour. We're both, I would go so far as not in a lofty, cheesy way, but say we're both sort of students of comedy, right? We love comedy. That's one of my great passions. It's the thing I love doing most. And I think he does too. And so we're sort of comedy nerds. I would say I'm a comedy nerd, I definitely am. Spoke about that a lot, and we have a similar sense of humour. Now, if someone has a similar sense of humour to you, you're going to fall in love with them. And we just hit it off straight away, which continued when I met him here through rehearsals. Because it's always weird. He wrote this film, and he's an actor of great merit, and could have easily played the part himself. And he'd not heard me read it before coming, so I could have really messed it up. You never know. So I think that was probably quite strange and scary for him, having this Englishman turning up to maybe butcher his script. But it worked out, and I've really loved working with him. I wasn't aware of Ronnie before doing this. Josh mentioned that he might be looking at him for that part. He said that he was very successful on Trevor Noah's show and had just done The Tonight Show. And his bit on The Tonight Show had gone viral, so I looked at that and I thought, wow, this guy's really original, smart, and hella funny. And like I said to you earlier, I'm a great student of stand-up. Like, I love stand-up comedy, and it fascinates me as an actor. It really fascinates me. So I watched a lot of his stuff, and he was as sure as shit very funny. But I knew that this role required a little bit of gravitas as well, because there's some themes in this, in terms of mortality that his character has to confront. And he just did a terrific job. Very, very calm, lovely, truthful acting. I have to say, it's simply put, one of the most beautiful places on earth. It's a phenomenal city. Of all of the coastal cities that I've been to, I think that Sydney's right up there. It's truly superb. We filmed on a place called Milk Beach, which was overlooking the Sydney Harbour Bridge there, and the sun was going down as Zara and I danced on our wedding evening on the beach. It happened to be the day that my children came to visit, my 3 kids who were 7, 6 and 4, and my wife was there, and I was dancing. It was one of the last shots we did, and it was magic hour as the sun was going down, and I was dancing with Zara to this great sort of Northern Soul record, and I could see my kids out the corner of my eye dancing together as well. My wife was there, and it was one of those moments that you would just sort of remember for the rest of your life, That's what I mean. If nothing comes of this film, which you have to be prepared for, because it's very rare that the planets align on something and it hits an audience. That, I don't know, it may well, who knows. But that's the stuff of life. Life is those moments, right? What else is it if it's not that? So that was really beautiful, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life. I've really loved what I think you've got really world-class crews out here. You've got really excellent practitioners of the arts and excellent crew members. You know, your crew members out here are as good as anyone around, and yeah, and a rich industry, and a lot of very good people working here. So it's been really, you know, I love working around the world, and yeah, your crews are as good as anyone. You know, again, it's a tight budget, this film, but there's a real, you know, A team of people assembled on the floor who will all really care about making this good. Number one, what I can promise audiences, which is my number one thing from any film, is that it's not in any way boring. Take that off the table. Nothing boring about this film. It's really funny. I laugh every day that I do it. I laughed when I read the script. There's original, fun, relatable set pieces. It is a wholly original concept that I've never seen before. When I read the film, I was like, surely this must have been done before, but it hasn't. There's a rich tradition of high concept time comedies that I've always loved. Groundhog Day, Big. Let's hope that we can join that rich pantheon of brilliant comedy dramas set in time, because they're two of my favourite films of all time. It rattles along, it's tight as hell, it's surprising, and hopefully has a bit of good acting in it as well.